Good evening, Adi.
Good evening, Nadav. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
So formal.
Yes.
So, any interesting things lately that you've tried with ChatGPT?
The new DALI 3, which is now available on the Bing chat. It's quite good, actually,
Oh,
from
sounds
OpenAI.
great. I
Yeah.
didn't try that. I didn't try that. I did see some color drawing for the kids. Someone was doing that with DALI 3,
Also
but
works.
yeah, maybe a good thing to give the kids, though you have to print it. So anyway, last week or the week before that, I was in the PositConf. It's Posit is the company who makes the RStudio IDE. They have this conference every year, and one of the keynotes was by Jeremy Howard. He's a known figure in the data science world and AI, specifically large language models. He gave an interesting talk about that. And we'll put a link to that talk. It's on YouTube. We'll put a link to his talk in our comments below. And that inspired me to try and do something cool this episode we have here, which is to create to turn. Okay, we're going to turn OpenAI's API into a code monkey. Okay, so we're going to build a function that you give the function a certain prompt, and it creates whatever function you want. So you're going to tell it something like build a function in R that give me something original. Tells you the time of day and greets you if it's either morning, noon, or evening or whatever. And supposedly it will give us a pre-made function that we can either copy and paste or whatever. We can just use it. It will supposedly do the thing that we wanted to do.
Maybe we can
So
ask it to
it's
test
like,
it.
yeah, I that's a great idea. Like having it also add tests to the function, right? A good point you have there. So what else? Yeah, I think that's it. So it's like if any of our viewers ever experimented with GitHub Copilot, I guess it would be something very similar to that, but maybe hacking our way through it because GitHub Copilot costs like $19 per month or something, some
So
outrageous pricing. But we're going to try something
functionally,
of our own.
functionally, Copilot is just if you have the extension or whatever set up in your IDE, you just write a comment, and the comment describes the function you want to generate, and it generates.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it does. So ours is a bit different, but yeah, let's go ahead and try that out. So, by the way, if anyone's interested, we also have an episode on the history of programming language. We're going to put that on the links as well. And we also have another episode that we did on OpenAI integration using Reticulate. So we'll put a link to that also. But there's a new package called OpenAI and AI. And if you'll see my screen share right now, let me just, zoom on. If you'll see, I've already loaded Tidyverse and the OpenAI package in R, which serves as kind of a package for it's a wrapper around the OpenAI API, application programming interface. Basically, does HTTP requests, and we're also loading a key. So we're a paying customer of OpenAI, so we have a key. You can see it loaded. I already loaded it in the environment. So just opening up in our environment file and loading. The our environment file has the key. If you're at home, don't try this key. It'll be deleted after this episode, but you can see it here and here loaded as well. So we've got the Open AI key. Now
In
the
one of
first thing,
the in one of the videos that you just mentioned, we show how to set up this API key in the OpenAI UI.
right, and I'm not sure if that one was in Hebrew or English,
Hmm.
but if that was in Hebrew, we'll put a description either here or in the repository about how to create an API key. So to do add a description about, maybe we'll ask ChatGPT later on to do that. I don't know.
Maybe.
A description about generating an OpenAI API key. Yeah.
I'm saying this because it's important to remember the proper form is to keep the API key secret because it can be used to pay for stuff.
Right. So important. And you can see here, like, for example, you can see here that we actually did that in the last episode, I think, or something like that, which was also in Hebrew. So for the viewers who don't speak Hebrew, you can see that right now, Git is suggesting to add this iron file, which contains the key. So the thing that you actually want to do is add a new file here. Let's add that one, text file, and just we call it git ignore. And gonna add our environ here. So then you see, once we have the git ignore, now it wants to add the git ignore, but there's no our environment file. So it won't try to commit this file to the repository. So if you ever have some kind of a secret key or whatever, you don't want to put it in the code itself. You want to put it in another file. Our environment is one option. You have other caching options or whatever. You can put it in here and kind of ignore it, and then it won't get committed. By the way, I gotta tell you, once I committed a key for the Google mapping products,
You get
and
a notification.
I had it on the code, hard coded, and I turned the repo from private to public intentionally. Like I wanted to make the repo public. And then like after a few minutes, I got an email notifying me that there's a leak, key leaked, and deleted and whatever. That was very surprising, very, very surprising, but and good. Could have gotten charged for that, like for million gazillion dollars. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So let's first try, like before building a function that does what we want to do, which is again using open AI API as a code monkey, which is basically saying we give it instructions, it gives us a new function. Let's instead of starting to build the function entirely, I usually like to write a small script that does what I want and experiment with it, change it, and then turn it into a function. So let's do that, right? So we would have the prompt. Prompt would probably be something like build a function that, go ahead, invent something. What is the function going to do?
Takes
Yo, my
input.
God. Yeah. Tell it. Yeah, takes
No,
input
I
and
don't
does
have one.
what?
I was
I got
making it
this
up as I
crazy.
go.
I got this crazy idea.
Do it.
Let's ask it to build the function that we want. Like build a function that uses OpenAI ChatGPT. It's going to work. It's going to be great. Build a function that uses OpenAI ChatGPT to build a function.
Using a
right?
prompt and yes.
Using a prompt
And language parameter.
and language parameter. Build the function in R
Line is too
using.
long.
Oh man, it's not. No, the line is okay. Like we should split it. We can split it. But I think I think it's not going to work. And you know why?
Why?
Because currently the ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo that I have access to is not interfaced to the internet. So it stops. It has a cutoff in 2021, I think, when they stopped. Like that's the corpus they use for training.
Okay.
And the documentation of OpenAI, the OpenAI package in R, is later than that. So they wouldn't have trained on that. They wouldn't know the functions of OpenAI, and they wouldn't even know,
I get it.
right, their own API for chatting with ChatGPT because it wasn't trained on its own API. So instead of let's try something simple, it probably won't work. Okay, I'm not sure. We can try it out, but let's go for something sure. So back to square
Interesting.
one. Yeah, give me a function. Build a function using a prompt and language parameter. No, that's not. Build a function that creates a ggplot2 comparing the MPG and let's say miles per gallon and I'm thinking about empty cars. Probably you guessed that already. Displacement. This from empty cars database data in R. Okay, I'm thinking that since we have the ggplot2 function package in the R mentioned here, I'm thinking that maybe it would know that we're talking about R. So let's see that. Now, on top of the prompt, we have instructions, right? That's a like we have to tell it what is the user prompt and what is the role, what is the system going to do, like who are you, right? That's the now Jeremy Howard on the talk I was referring to gave a very interesting argument that that how there's a lot of people showing that ChatGPT can't do this, can't do that, is getting an error on this or that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
So he actually showed that a lot of the things that people claim that ChatGPT can't do can be solved using the right instructions.
That's sound.
So
It's a lot
if
about
ChatGPT
how you do the prompt.
right, so it can be either the prompt or the custom instructions, which are kind of part of the prompt. So you can give it a prompt like of a math riddle and send instructions. You are an expert in solving math riddles. By the way, there's a feature they added to the chat itself. Like if you go to the chat itself, there's a small feature on the bottom left that you can put custom instructions in the web interface as well. In the API, it was always there.
Cool.
So maybe we'll show that later on. Remind me. So instructions, you are programming with in multiple languages. You write efficient, well-documented code with validation checks and whatever. And that's it. So this is something that it turns to part of the prompt.
Yeah. I
Right?
usually see
So
this stuff as part of the prompt and not like named as part of the instructions.
yeah, so think of it as kind of an identification.
Yeah, I understand.
So the identification is consistent, but the prompts change, right? So you have a specific use case. You want to keep part of the identification constant. So that would be putting it in the instructions and yeah.
Did you see the guy that gave instructions to GPT about how the bot is now his grandmother, who used to tell him Windows 10 CD keys until he fell asleep? And he told him
I
to, do you know about this stuff?
I might have caught a glimpse on that. I don't recall it exactly, but
Yeah.
I remember some discussions if these keys were authentic, like working
They
or not.
worked. They
It
worked. The keys
worked.
worked. Yes.
It was probably trained on some of them. Like there was probably a corpus with
Yep.
Windows keys. I wonder. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing would be to use using the OpenAI package. So this is an R package, which is a wrapper around HTTP requests with OpenAI. So the way we work it out is by using a function called create chat completion, I think. Create chat completion. So let's look at the documentation. It gets the model. So our model, there's a documentation here of the different, no, there is no documentation of the For the mod, you actually need to have a look on the API documentation to get the available models. I know from previous experience that the model that I can use in my API is something like GPT 3.5 Turbo. That's a model. That's a model that most of us know from the web interface. And you have this little icon that you can like these days you can change it maybe to GPT-4. But here
If you pay.
it's yeah, if you pay for it. So this is actually a paid service, right? I'm paying for that, but I don't have access to GPT-4 in my subscription, in my plan. So, and it's more expensive. It's like 100 times the price of GPT 3.5 Turbo. I think it might work okay here. So the model is going to be GPT 3.5, and then we have the messages. Messages is the next argument. So this one here, like the actual API, if you would have wanted to issue the request directly, like an HTTP request with a curl or something, you would have to, I think, send a JSON text file, right? Here in R, there's a translation between a list and a JSON. So the list turns to the curly brackets of the JSON and like nested lists, nested JSON. So we need to have a list of lists. In the first list, we're going to tell ChatGPT that its role, like this is a system message, right? And the content of the system message is the instructions. Okay? And next up, so that's the first list. The second list is the prompt. So that's like the user role. Sorry. The role here is the user, and the content is our prompt. Right? So we call it prompt. This is our prompt. So in our function, these are I think that when we do the final function, like the function correct functions, we will have the instructions, I think, constant, because it's not something that we want to change. Like we want to keep ChatGPT as a programming ways in multiple languages, but the prompt will change, right? So we'll figure out how to call it exactly. This is something that we want to tune until we get very good results. So now let's see what needs to be closed here. That's it. These are redundant. Yeah, and oh yeah, we need the key. So we have the key, open AI API key. I think that's the, you see that's the key that we need here. Yeah, and you see where I got the name of the environment variable. So we already have that. We didn't actually had to load it because I used the same name, right? Otherwise I would have put in this one here, but we actually don't need this. Okay. So this is needed. And next up, anything else? Like we can limit different things, temperatures, the amount of randomness it uses.
Wait, why are you not passing the open API key?
I don't need to pass it because it has a default value of getting
It takes okay.
this thing.
That's a default value.
So
Okay.
any
Both.
like in the documentation, any
Yeah,
argument that has equals something has a default value. The only argument of this function which does not have a default value is the model. Like it has to have the model specified. Let's call it new function and run this function, right? So let's try it out. Let's see what it gives us. Yeah, okay, instructions not found. And instructions. Didn't I run these? I didn't run these. Okay, let's try now. Okay, so you see it takes some time. It's thinking. Now let's see the result. Okay, so you see that the result is kind of a list of various things, like the ID. There's chat completion. We got some kind of a number here. The object is chat completion. It was created. This is probably the date in Unix time. Here's the model that we used. The choices. Okay, the finish reason is stop. I think that there are various reasons, like you can be stopped by having
Too long
a
answer.
response, yeah, to a response which is too long. So in this case, the stop reason is it finished, it's whatever, right? So, and this one is the message role is the assistant, like it's telling you that this is what is said. You can, by the way, you can actually manipulate that. You can actually tell it that he answered certain things, and then he would answer upon his answers, and you know you can imposter as ChatGPT when you communicate with the API. And we've got the tokens and the completion tokens. So total tokens. I think that the prompt, like there's a pricing based on this usage. I'm not really worried about that because like this pricing is probably a few cents. Okay, something like that. Like
For
it's
this model.
for this model, yeah. And it would still be a few cents for the better model, right? But not like maybe this one is 5 cents and the other one will be 50 cents or whatever, less than that. Okay, so a few things that I'm seeing here. First of all, I'm seeing, sure, here is a function in R that creates blah, 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 blah. We don't want that. We just want a function, right? So we gotta give it a notification that you're programming with, blah, 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 you write, well, you don't, you only provide the function text and commented comments, no text before or after the function, right? Because we don't actually want all that garbage. Just want the function itself. Yeah. So you can see that it did have that three backticks, which signifies here is the start of code in Markdown, right? When you get Markdown documents, this starts code. So it has the 3 backticks, r/n for a new line, library. It called the function create. So we can actually have this file saved and see the contents of it. Just let's update the instructions and see if this gets the job done better and rerun the model. Okay, so we got this, and let's see if we got a new function with that. And I'm thinking, since we have the /n and everything, I'm thinking let's just drop everything to a file and open that file.
Do it.
Yeah. So let's drop everything into a file. That would be write text or write file. Yeah. So x is new function. That's the name of the output. But we don't need new function. We need new function. How was it called? It was message content. I'm not getting. Is that an attribute? That's it. That's it. Oh, maybe that's part of a different. Oh, that's R. Oh, okay. So that's part of choices.
Choices.
Okay. You need the choices. And now you got a message content. Okay, that's the one. Ah, shit. You see, to create the required to ggplot blah 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 blah, we still got that. The blah 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 stuff.
Tell them
We
to
didn't get
provide
the
no preamble, only lines of code.
don't provide preamble. Is that preamble like that?
Yeah.
Only don't provide preamble, only provide lines of code.
And inside comments, like code comments.
and inside code comments. So we were, like, to our viewers, we were very quick to identify this because we're very used to reading code, even if it's very garbled like that. But we would, in a moment, get a very clearer view of the function. So we would write a new function to a file called new function.r. This is an R function. So we're going to put it within the same directory. And what do we need? Path, append. If false, we'll overwrite existing file. Okay. If true, we'll append to existing files. In both cases, the file does nothing. Okay, let's have an append true. So if we accidentally write to this function, it will append, add the new function in the bottom instead of deleting everything. And path, we don't need the path because we have the file. Okay, expected string vector. Oh, forgot that. We need the choices and the message content. Okay, I wonder if there's a way to open a file. Open file. I'm just gonna do
You're
a
writing
quick.
an opening just
I just wanna.
to dump
I
the
just
slash n,
wanna.
the new line.
So we have it here. You see, it's here already.
Mhm.
It's in. This is the new file. Just wanted to, like, programmatically open
Load
this
it.
file.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wanted to programmatically load it instead of clicking here. I know that there's a way to do that. So if I programmatically, I'm writing in a different window now. Programmatically open a file in RStudio. I'm not asking ChatGPT to do that. I'm just, like, trying to find it. File show, I think. We will probably want to use that. New function.r. I think that this would open up. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. Okay, yeah, I think I got it. And RStudio API, that's the package used for interacting with RStudio. Navigate to file. Let's try this one. Oh yeah, we got it. So this is something we definitely want to use. So the
Nice.
user will add the instructions and it would just open up the file. Let's check if this function works, right? So first of all, I see that there are some not very good practices here. Like, it trained on lousy data. For example, this is something you definitely don't need because empty cars is loaded always. Okay, so these
Is it?
lines are not needed. Yeah, it's always, we didn't load it. Empty cars, we didn't do anything to load it. You see it here. The data is available.
It comes baked into
Yeah,
the
yeah,
studio.
it comes. It's in R. Even if in base R, like in bare R, it's always there unless
Okay.
you delete it. So this is not needed actually, but okay. And this is usually something that you put on the script and not within the function, right? You don't
But
load
no,
libraries within a function.
but your agent, the guy who wrote it, the bot, it doesn't know that you have it in the upper scope. So from the bot's perspective,
Yeah,
for it to work, you have
you're
to
right.
import.
Yeah, but I would expect the bot to load it, like, outside of the function. That's better
Is
coding.
that what?
I mean, I would expect it to, this is functional, this works, but it would try to kind of load the package every time the functions run. It obviously won't load the package when it's already loaded because R doesn't work like that. And you don't actually have to load something. You can always put, like, ggplot to,
I have a question.
put the namespace. But
Uh, if
let's
you
have your
loaded,
question and then try to run it. I'm anxious.
if you loaded the library there within the function, within like outside of the function scope, will it recognize what you loaded, or is it only within that scope of that function? Know what
Oh,
I
you
mean?
know what? You know what? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. We would have to check.
Okay.
We would
Now
have to
you can
find
check if the function works. You can
some
also ask him.
package.
You can also ask the bot where are the tests, which he was supposed to make.
No, we didn't ask for tests. We
No, you
we
wrote
asked
it in the
for
instructions.
yeah we asked for validations, but this function has no arguments because it makes a plot without any arguments. So you basically don't have what to test if you don't have arguments to the function. What are
Makes sense.
testing functions again? Just to get okay, let's run it. Yeah. Whoa, we got it. Yeah, we got it. Oh, yeah, that's great. You know, that actually works. That actually works. That was cool. I actually knew that this would work because I reviewed the code while we were talking. Yeah, this great. Okay. And give us this header. That's this nice title, scatter plot of MPG and displacement. And we got the axis and descriptions. Oh, it's the other way around. You know? That's
What is?
stupid. I mean, miles per gallon is affected by displacement and not the other way around. Displacement is a property of the engine. It's like the engine's
Yeah.
volume or derivative of the volume, like how many gas is displaced within cylinders or something like that. So this affects the gas consumption, which is the miles per gallon, right? So it's supposed to be the other way around. Like we would have to kind of do, but that's okay. I mean, the function still works. It's functional. Like this is what I would have expected instead, and instead of having, let's fix the labels. And yeah, that's better. I wouldn't say perfect, but better, right?
Yes.
Isn't that nice?
Yes.
So you can see, I mean, the as the displacement increases, the car is more energy consuming because the miles per gallon is lower. But okay.
As
So
expected.
what have we learned? Like we didn't try it with arguments, so we don't know if it adds tests. We can add some clarification about the position of the packages of the package loading, but let's not change it for now. And this is simply redundant. This is simply not needed. But I mean, I like I don't even know data. Yeah, it loads the data into memory. It's not actually maybe I don't know why I put it here, but let's try something. Let's build a function that does this, right? You know, let's do that. Okay, let's do it. Turning the code into a function. Okay. So OpenAI codemonkey function. So we're actually going to use some of the inputs that we saw here. So I think that my son is calling me. I gotta answer this one. Okay, so having answered my son's questions, let's carry on. So we actually want some like there would be an argument here called OpenAI API key. I think that we would be using the same like sys like we would be using the same approach of the package. Though so this way the user can either
Isn't it
put
constant
a
for whoever uses it? Why pass it at all?
I mean if the RNV file exists in the directory, it is seamless. But if it's not, then you have to have the key passed somehow into the internal function, into this one, right?
Okay.
So you either put the RNV file, or we might want to have like an assertion, like a test
Because it's
the test.
regardless of where it comes from, because it's always the same key, I expect you would, even if you load it externally, you would load it once at the top of the file or whatever, you know, once to memory, because if you need to load it within the function, you will load it every time.
But
I
Like
actually don't know
if
how.
you load
I
it,
actually don't know how R works. Like, does it every time it takes the default value? Does it get from env every time? I don't know how it works.
so if you load it into the environment, it's okay. If you set it into the environment, it's okay. But you might have not. Like you might have it saved somewhere else and
Okay,
not as an
doesn't matter.
environment purpose. That's the reason it's using like this.
Okay.
We want to have the instructions we are internal. We don't want the user to have control over that. We want to have the prompt. We want to have the language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's give it R. And I think that that's it. There's nothing more that we need, right? Maybe we want to give it the model. Like I would have a default value of this because that's the only model I can use. But I can use lesser models, but that's the best one that you can use here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that's it. That's right, the function. There's some kind of error here, which I'm not sure why. Oh, no, it's okay. Okay, so test that a key is available. I just want to make sure that there is the key is available, right? So I'm going to use I'm actually just using the it's just like an opportunity for me to show the assert that package in R. So I'm just gonna assert that openai API key not is null, right? I'm just asserting here that this argument is not null. Like if you try to get if you're trying to get a key which is not sorry, not like a system variable which is not existent, you just get null. Or I'm sorry, you don't get that, you get this one here. So I'm just gonna make sure that this is different than this. This is kind of a basic assertion, like a very basic check. And the message here, no key is provided. Check
I just want to comment
that.
that, like in real code, if you want to make sure you have an open API key, you just don't accept the default value.
Like omitting this one here.
Yeah, force the user to pass it.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's loaded into the environment, it's okay to use it. It's a best practice, I think. The only thing is that if the user didn't have an R environment file in the
And didn't
directory
pass. Yeah,
and didn't manually pass the key, then the function would shout on them, right?
yeah,
So if
but
we
now
just
you're assuming
compile,
that if the user has it in his inventory, in his environment, then the name of the environment variable is the one that you specified as default.
yeah. So
Like
now
conceptually, it's best to.
I just want to show you what we would get for like this. This is supposed to yield this error, right?
Yep.
So I'm sorry that we. Oh, I put an assignment here instead of this one. I had only one equal sign instead of two. This is an assertion. This is the check, right? Assert that. Oh shit,
Not equal. Not equal.
not equal exactly. So you see, no key. So we got the error message. This is just a small way of showing
Okay.
like the
Okay.
type of assertions that we're doing here. I mean,
Let's
you
get
can
to
do
the
a lot
good
of.
stuff. Let's see it work.
Let's get to the good stuff. Yeah. So we got the instructions. We said instructions are not like we already tuned the instructions. So we're using these instructions, right? And I'm just gonna, tab it here because I don't like the have everything in order. And now we can just take this whole thing and kind of have the new function, right? But the only thing that we need to change here, the instructions are okay. The prompt is almost okay because we have separated the programming language and the prompt, right? So we would have examples here like showing how to use the function. but I do want to separate the programming language from the model. And I also want to have a different order to the arguments, because these arguments are related to what I'm asking, and these are technical arguments related to the model. So let's have this one here. This is the prompt. And we're going to have, let's do it something like this. This would have us glue. Okay, glue is like, using strings and concatenation, like in curly brackets for easy insertion of text. So we would have, this would give us the prompt. And we would write here in, oh, I'm sorry, in the programming language. So I just want to show you what we're getting here. Okay. So I'm just going to load this one here as the prompt, as the programming language, and the prompt would just be the function get a title and build an empty ggplot with the. So even though I did give some kind of a hint regarding, I'm just no, and build an empty plot, right? So an empty plot can be with ggplot, can be with matplotlib, can be with whatever language that knows, like Julia or whatever, that can build plots, right? So I didn't hint it on the language here. And in the programming language, I gave the language that I wanted, right? So when I'm gluing it together, I'm actually giving it this prompt. Oh, there's a get. Why get? What's the get a title, a build? Did I have typos in my prompt? Oh,
You did.
build a. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's rewrite it a bit. A function that gets a plot title as the argument and builds and prints it as the argument and prints the title 10 times and times, and is also an argument of the action. Okay, I changed it a bit. So a function that gets a title as the argument and prints the title n times and is also an argument of the function. Is that okay? Works by you? When we're doing the glue, we get a function that gets a title as the argument and prints the title n times and is also an argument of the function in the R language. So we got that in the R programming language is a parameter language. So we got this one here. Okay, so that's the prompt we're going to use. So we got the new function output here, and that's just new function. We got the choices and the message content. We're not even doing checks to see if it stopped for any other reason than stop. We're going to keep it very simple. Obviously, there are some checks to be done here. We can also add some kind of a message talking about the cost, like how much did it cost, computing in a using based on the tokens that we got back. But let's skip all that for now. Okay. So, but one thing that I did want is, let's have a file name. That's, yeah. Prompt file programming language. Okay. A file name would be the file that we save to. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You with me? So we got a new function. Let's use what we used here. Write file RStudio API. So we're going to write the file to the file. This is the file argument. We're going to append it and use this to open the file. So this function would actually open up write to a file and open it up in RStudio. I think.
Run
Let's
it.
try it out. Yeah. So openai codemonkey. Let's try and prompt. The one that we used, right? Prompt. What did I get here? What did I do? Where is it? Oh, yeah. Here's the prompt. What else do we need?
File.
We need the file name. So that would be file equals a write title. Let's get a better file name. Write title.r. Oh, and we need the language as well. Language equals
You have default
R.
default value for that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm going to change it to Python later on.
Let's see.
So we got the three things, though we do have this one before this one. It doesn't matter because these are named arguments, but let's put them in the same order the function gets them. We do have some kind of error here. You see probably a
The end of the line, you have a closed.
Oh, so right,
exactly.
Okay, so I actually don't have to have any assignment here because the function doesn't actually return the value. It saves it to a file and puts the file on the directory, right? So I don't have actually have an assignment here of the outcome of this function to a. Okay, so I did get some kind of an output from, you see, from this one here. Okay, I did get some kind of like a identifier or pointer or whatever. So I'm gonna ignore it for now. I did get the backticks. We're gonna rid of them somehow. We gotta get rid of them. And we did get this function, and we also got an explanation that we don't actually want. So you would have to change the instructions again, make it kind of explains what we're doing here. Let's see if this one works. Okay, I'm gonna run this function into memory and then gonna give it title, hello world, and that's printed 10 times. So you see, this, for example, is a check. You see, it expects n to be an integer. So it's very sensitive. I can have an integer if I put 10L. L is kind of short for long. So
Yeah,
this is kind of a check that we don't actually need, but it has this check here that if n is not an integer or n is smaller than 0, like you can't have a negative number of times, right? So it makes sense. This check really makes sense. This makes sense in a certain sense, but not as it doesn't. So I would have deleted it, right? But it works.
Do it
Isn't
in
that
Python.
nice? Yeah, okay, let's try in Python. Yeah. Let's do it Python. And let's change this to a Py file. Boom. So sure, here's a function. Again, I got the backticks. I don't need them. I don't actually need everything after this. And I don't actually need this script here.
It's actually
Here's the
kind of
function.
annoying because we told him to provide the only lines of code.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we are programming with in multiple languages. You only write efficient, but we don't provide preamble, only provide lines of code and inside code comments. I.e., only the code you would put between 3 backticks. And no explanations before or after. That might be clearer. I mean, it's a lot of trial and error, right?
Of course.
Let's retry this one. Let's retry this, but the one with the Python. Let's try and see if something gets Python. I'm gonna delete this file.
Change the file name there.
No. I'm just gonna delete it.
You should just provide, like, tell it instead to append to overwrite.
Yeah, I can do that. But never mind, I only deleted it. That's another argument we can actually put.
Change
Either
the file
append or
name
override.
to
Oh, well, yeah, right. Shit, you're right. I need to change that to. But you can see that we have the error.
yeah.
We still have the backticks. Don't provide the back. Don't.
Yeah, but we only have them. We don't have the explanations.
Yeah, and don't provide the backticks. The code should run as is if saved in a script. Okay, Python. Bye. Sorry, that one. You can actually get very creative with this stuff. Okay, did provide the backticks. We're gonna solve this as well. But we got a function. See, we got our function. And if we compile this function, oh shit, I need the reticulate package for this. Let's see if I can just run from here.
No checks in Python.
Python 3, right? No checks. We did get the nice documentation. Print title. Print title. Why are there no checks in Python? N equals 5. It works.
Give it some non-number.
It will error out.
Yeah. I figure.
Syntax. Oh no, syntax is not one. Yeah, because it doesn't loop on like range.
I wonder
text is not.
why it chose. Well,
I think that if we maybe because we changed the prompt. So if we change the prompt now of the R file, let's give write title number 2 and run it again. I think that maybe the R code now won't have checks as well. You see? It doesn't have checks because of the way we changed the prompt.
it
So
does
it
have
figured
explanation
we
though.
want, yeah, it does have explanation. Like it's not perfect, okay? It's not perfect. We
Probably
need to,
you can do it much cleaner if you dump like anything that doesn't come between the backticks.
yeah.
Like if it gives you
Like
a
if
couple of
we,
examples, then it doesn't really help you.
yeah,
But
if
for the
if
most part,
we if we do something like, I'm thinking like we can probably get a regex that omits everything before the first 3 backticks and omits everything after the second 3 backticks instead of trying to manipulate the prompt. See what I'm saying?
yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah. So let's try that out. I'm gonna don't provide that. I'm gonna delete this and have mm, like I need a
I don't know how it's in R,
Can
but
you give me a, like, I need a regex, okay? Can you use
I mean, like,
OpenAI for a
wouldn't it be easier to just go over line by line as you dump it into a file? If it's the first, just do it like on the fly or whatever. I'll find the regex. Let's ask regex.
No, I think a regex would be easier. I think that the regex would be much easier
Okay.
because if you go line by line, you have to remember when's the first, when's the second. Like you have to manipulate it. Like it's kind of, you have to loop over it. It's
Okay.
easier with the regex. You just remove it.
Let's ask.
I figured as much.
Oof. Gives me a bunch of nonsense. Let's see.
Did you ask? Like you asked the ChatGPT?
I'm asking, yeah. Let's see. No, useless. Just a second. Give me a regex that
Oh
extracts
man.
only
Yeah.
lines which appear between 3 consecutive backticks. Let's see.
I think that this is the one. Something like this.
I'm sending you in the chat.
But this is in Python. I need it in R. Can you give me it in R, not Python? Like some of the characters might not work. And like you need to have backslash or something in R for the regex.
Escaped. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Did it work for you?
It actually did. It actually did, but it did give me the first 3 lines with
What I sent you or what you...
the 3
you're
backticks.
trying your own.
No, what regex to identify everything after the second appearance.
You're asking your function.
Yeah. I'm using my function to. I'm using this hack to get the answers for that.
That's dirty. I sent you in the chat the regex. If you need.
I'm gonna try this one and then I'm gonna try yours if it does work. Bah. Oh, this is much more complicated. Much more complicated.
No, dude. Forget it.
It worked for the first one, but didn't work for the second one. The second, like, what is the second? You sent it over the chat.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So what's that? The second is the
The
second one
second is
you
the
sent.
first, but with escaped backticks.
Okay, but what about the second one?
The second one is exactly like the first. I just put slashes before the backticks to escape them.
Yeah, but I meant that, like, okay, we have the code that identifies everything before the first 3 backticks. This one works. This one actually, this
No,
code
but
here
I checked it.
actually
It
works for
works.
that.
It captures
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
between
yeah.
them.
I mean, this was for everything between them.
That's what you're
Oh
looking
yeah,
for.
okay, great. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I was thinking maybe we need two of them. But okay, let's try that. No, no, it just removed the backticks.
No,
Your
so
code didn't
I don't
work.
know how your STR remove works, dude, but the expression works. Like you can check here. Check here.
I'm telling you, it didn't. We yeah, okay, okay. I need to negate that. We need to negate your like what you did. We need the not of it because it removed. Oh, you got me the one before. Okay, I need to negate your expression. How do you negate this expression?
Why do you need to negate my expression? It works.
Because I want to remove everything besides what you gave me, right?
No, you want to take only what you captured. It's the same result, but you only want the in-between
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh man.
If you negate, it will be a more expensive operation, I think. It worked.
Yeah, I don't know why it gave me two results though. This
One
is
is
good
the match,
with
the
the
second is the match group. You need to take the second one.
what's the difference between what's the difference between a match and a match group? Like
I'm not entirely sure, but it tells you the match because you're looking in the expression for backticks. So it also found backticks, but whatever is within a parenthesis, round parenthesis, is a group, which you can, at least in Python, if you do the regex stuff, you can refer to result groups. Just take the second result or however it works for you.
let's do that.
It should probably work.
It should. Str match. Gonna just make sure that this one looks in. Yeah. And I would always have the group. That's the
If there is a match, if it provided code within backticks.
and if it didn't, like if there are no backticks at all, what would it provide? Nothing.
Nothing. It's supposed to return empty. I don't know how it's implemented in R, but it's supposed to return no match.
So we actually now positively need that ChatGPT would return the code with backticks.
Which it does, doesn't it?
I mean,
I understand what
it's
you're asking
it's
because
still no.
you
It's
wanted
still
the
not
negative
perfect.
because it would work in any
Yeah, yeah,
way, but
yeah. Exactly. That's why I was thinking like that. But we also still have a problem because I mean this is already too long, so we're not going to solve it. But you know the first thing after the first three backticks is the language name.
after them,
Yeah, if you look at the output, let's try this.
show
Okay,
the
let's
output.
run this. Let's write this to the file, right? Okay, we've done this. We have the match here and everything's okay. Okay, so rerunning this code now, and we're running this. I hope that we don't have an error. Yeah, okay, it worked. Great, we got it. Did we? No, we
Nice.
didn't. This is
Why
no,
not?
it's not completely. This is the old code. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. This is the new code. Notice the R here. This
Where
R
did the R
signifies
come
like
from?
because it has the three backticks and R.
I get
So
it.
this like when you use Markdown, the parser knows this is an R. So if you have the setuping for the coloring and reservoirs and everything, it gives you color. So if it would be Python, we'd have this Python here, and Julia, you'd have Julia here.
Okay, okay,
I'm
okay.
thinking let's just drop everything to a file and forget about it. What do you think?
Do it.
Yeah, we can probably look for like get the like we do have the language, right? So we can probably search for the language and remove it, or remove it if it's the
Um,
first. But Yeah, I mean, let's forget
Yes,
about
you can. You do expect it to be the first, like it would be the start of the string of whatever result you have.
Yeah. Okay. So we kind of have this problem with perfection, right? So identify and remove the first few strings which are expected to be the language.
Put that stuff in the
So
function.
language, yeah, it's in the function. I'm writing this in the function.
Is it?
Yeah, language chars is within the
Hmm.
function here.
Okay.
Language chars would be the length of the character that we had here, programming language. Where's that? So you see, if it's one, then we have one. If it's not, then. And now we just want to get like I think if we have this and we want to str sub, I think we want to get start equals. I think we want to have 1 + 1, right? So you see, it starts from the second character here.
So ugly.
So we want to have, yeah, we want to have, no, it's actually okay. We
No,
want
it's
to
pretty
have,
ugly how you do these string operations in R.
okay. I'm not gonna argue with that.
This-
I don't
Of
think it's
course,
true, but
it's not your fault, of course, or you don't have any
it's just the way
responsibility.
things it's just the way things are in R. See, excuse the pun. A clean function. I'm just gonna it's not the clean function, it's like temp function. Clean function would be the temp function, str sub, and we just want to start with language chars +1, right? And the end is simply the end of the function. So that would be the clean function, okay? And now I'm gonna just delete all these nonsensical functions.
Just override the files, dude. Just override the files.
Well, man, yeah, append false. If you insist,
There
I'm
you
just gonna
go.
check if append false. What does that do? If false, we'll override the existing files. Okay, yeah, let's do this. Yeah.
I also want one in C++ for all time's sake.
Oh yeah. Oh, that sounds good. So we got this one here.
Well played.
Okay, it works. Let's run it. Print title. Yeah, dude. Foobar. Oh, you see, we got an error here. Now we change this to this. Yeah, dude. Foobar. This is obviously something that you would want to change. Like, okay, this validation is integer, is not like you can do is numeric instead. It makes more sense. You see? I mean, that's exactly the point of, people are really afraid for their positions. Like a lot of people are really afraid that ChatGPT is going to take their jobs. But these are the kinds of things that are, the fine tuning is really hard to do.
Yeah.
You'd have to work very heavy to fine tune this to, get all the little tricks and bits,
Yeah,
which
of course,
I would catch very quickly, right? So you can't completely trust it.
it can't replace people so easily because writing functions is not like writing complete software. It needs to know the context in which it is writing and a lot of other stuff. So there will be people in the middle for quite a while. Perhaps fewer people, but they will still exist.
Oh, by the way, it's not the length. I took the wrong, I used the wrong.
Yeah.
Like the length is not the right function here. Probably in chars or something like that. The length is 1. Probably in chars. Yeah, in char.
And Charles.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Do it. Yeah. Yeah, and we got it. No,
Yeah.
no checks here. You see, no checks in the. It's interesting.
So for
No
Python, no check.
validation checks.
Probably
No
it was
validation checks.
whatever it was trained on was more, had more checks in R and less checks in Python or whatever.
Yeah, it's a
I
black
guess,
box.
I
You
don't
wouldn't
know.
know. Probably maybe it had a function which does exactly that. Let's have one in C++ and Julia, just for the heck of it. C++, you would write it like this. The language is that
Yes,
common. And what would be the
CPP.
file extension? CPP. Sorry. I'm not sure I can, this is Linux, so I can probably run a C++ CPP file. I'm not sure how exactly, but can you run through it and see if it's okay?
Makes sense.
Is that something you would do in C++, like in terms of
Yeah,
defining the arguments?
yeah. It's a reference to a string title and the number of stuff you want.
My days in C++ were so long ago. Like I probably learned C during my undergrad or something like that.
No, there is no need
Really
for
not
checking
that.
here because if you got into the function, then the compiler already checked that you got a string or an integer, for example.
Yeah,
It's built.
it's
It's a
but it's
compiling
the
language. So it
but
doesn't
it
need to
did
check that
put
it's an
like there
integer.
is but there is an error message here. Oh, that's because if n is
If
smaller than 0.
yes,
But it's the same, it's the same in Python. You would also get an error if you put
it's not the
a
same.
wrong.
It's not the
Why?
same because in Python you would get a runtime error. It would fail while running. And
Mhm.
in C++, it would fail while compiling before running. It's uh,
Interesting.
it's
I
different.
see. I see. Okay, interesting. But still, would the error be meaningful? Like if I instead of an integer, I'm putting a float or a string into n, would the error of this function be meaningful? Would the error
Um,
message be indicative of the issue?
yes, yes, yes.
What is the file extension for Julia?
I have no idea. Let's ask the internet.
Ask him. Yeah, just to have kind of Julia Stan. There's no Julia file here. It probably will
JL.
though. JL, yeah. Let's have a JL file. So none of us knows Julia, right? You know Julia?
Nope.
But we will get a function in Julia which does what we wanted. So it's not even colored because our studio
Yeah.
here doesn't have the setup for Julia. It's probably okay. I mean, the rest of
Mm.
them worked or seem to be right. Okay, great. So let's wrap up. I think it's a
Very
good time
cool.
to wrap up. I
Very
think we
cool.
did some kind of cool work, and we'll publish it. Oh yeah, I did wanted to show, like I promised that I'd show the ChatGPT instructions when you use uh, the
Yes.
online version. So if you go into ChatGPT, I'm opening up and switching the window. If you go to ChatGPT here, you can use this one here on the bottom left, custom instructions, and then you can write how would you like ChatGPT to respond, and gives you some thought starters. How do you want to be addressed? Do ChatGPT have opinions? How long or short should responses generally be? How formal or casual should it be? You also have how would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better answers, so you can tell what are you, where are you based, what do you do for work, what are your hobbies. So it's like putting in the prompt, but every new chat that you run, you don't have to re-enter the prompt, these
Yeah.
characteristics into the prompt, because it will remember your instructions, right? Unless you uncheck this enable for new chats, right? So it's kind of cool. Okay, you want to wrap up?
Well, we use the OpenAPI library, which is a wrapper for the OpenAPI OpenAI API to create a codemonkey. We basically give it prompts and it gives us functions in any language.
Yeah,
Pretty much it.
yeah, pretty much it. I mean, we will have the code. If people at home want to try it, go ahead and try. We will have the code. You just need to open up an account in OpenAI. Probably already have one. Maybe you need to put a credit card to have the thing get going, right? So you can have tokens, you can have keys and everything with the programmatic access. And it's very cheap when you use it like this because it's not very long. You can try it out, see where it gets you. Try complicated functions, not simple ones like we did.
Very cool.
So yeah, let us know what you thought. Subscribe to our channel. Write to us in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time. Nadav, thank you so much for helping me
Thank
with this. I
you.
really enjoyed the session.
Yes, me too.